Hello. The little fawn. For days the sun had shone from a cloudless sky, and the oak leaves hung dry and dusty on the trees. The poppies flaunted their red frocks at the field side, throwing off their light, tight green caps in the early morning, and flinging down their red petals at night, as if they as if they were too hot to wear anything at all. Butterflies of all kinds came to the pink and white bramble flowers on the hedgerow, and wasps and bees hummed dusk to dawn. The hedgerow was thirsty, the grass beneath it was parched, and brown everything wanted the cool rain. The pond water fell lower and lower, and the fish began to become anxious. What would happen if they had no water to swim in? The moorhens talked of going to the big river, as if they were fond of the little pond, but they were fond of the little pond and stayed. And then one late afternoon rain came, great purple black clouds sailed up the southwest and covered all the sky. They seemed very dark, and the brilliance of the summer sun. Then suddenly a flash of bright lightning tore the sky in half, and the startled birds flew to the hedge for shelter. Almost at once there came a loud peal of thunder that rolled around the sky and sent the young rabbits scampering back to their burrows in fright. And then what a downpour! First came big drops that made wide round ripples on the pond, and the set oak tree leaves dancing up and down. Then came a deluge of smaller drops beating down faster and faster. The old toad crawled out from his stone and lay in the rainstorm, his mouth opening and shutting in delight as he felt the rain trickling down his back. Crowds of young frogs jumped from the pond and hopped to the ditch for joy. The hedgehog found a sheltered place and curled up in disgust, for he didn't like the way the rain ran down the prickles. It tickled him. Soon a delicious smell arose from the fields and the hedge, the smell of the rain sinking into the earth. All the animals sniffed it. It was good. In the ears sounded the rippling and gurgling, the splashing and the dripping of the rain. They heard every plant drinking greedily. They heard the excited moorhens scuttling in the rain over the pond. It was a glorious time. The clouds grew blacker, the lightning flashed again, and the thunder growled and grumbled like a great bear in the sky. And just as the storm was at its height, there came a sound of tiny galloping hoofs. They sounded through the pattering of the rain, and all the rabbits heard them and peeped out the holes. The rain wet in the fine whiskers. The toad heard them too and crawled back in his hole. It did not wish to be trampled on. The newcomer ran to the hedgerow and stopped there in its shelter. It was a small fawn, a baby deer, only a few weeks old. The little fawn was trembling too. The hedgerow was surprised, for it never seen a fawn before. The little fawn was trembling too. Its soft eyes were wide with fright, and tail swung to and fro. Another peal of thunder sounded overhead, beginning with a noise like a giant clapping of hands. The fawn closed its eyes in terror and sank down on the grass. It was frightened of the storm. Its mother had left it safely hidden in the bracken of the distant wood, and had told it to stay there until she returned. But then the storm had come, and the little fawn, who had never seen lightning before or heard thunder, had been terrified. The jays in the wood had screamed in delight at the rain, and the little fawn had thought they were screeching in terror. Fear had filled his small beating heart, and he had run from his hiding place through the woods, across the fields, anywhere and anywhere to get away from this dreadful noise and terrible lightning flash. But the storm seemed to follow him. The rain came down and lashed him, beating into his eyes. The thunder rolled excitedly above his head, and so it seemed. Where was his mother? Why did she not come to him? He was so frightened that his legs would no longer carry him, and he sank onto the grass beside the old hedgerow. He made a little bleating sound, and the old mother rabbit, who had heard many young animals crying for their mother, looked out of her hole nearby. She saw the frightened fawn and was sorry for him. She ran out of her burrow in the rain and went up to the panting fawn. "Don't be afraid," she said. "It's only a thunderstorm. It'll pass. Be glad of the good rain, little creature, and lick it from the grass. It will taste good." The fawn looked at the soft-eyed rabbit and was comforted. It was good to see another creature near him, one that was not frightened. He put out his hot tongue and licked the wet grass. The raindrops were cool and sweet. They stopped trembling and lay calmly in the rain. "Come under the hedgerow," says the rabbit. "You will get wet lying there. The hedgerow is thick, and the shelter will shelter you until the storm passes." The little fawn obediently pushed his way into the hedge and lay down in the dry, though he could easily reach the dripping grass with his pink tongue. "Where do you come from?" asked the rabbit inquisitively. "I have never seen you before, though I have heard my mother tell of creatures like you in the woods." "I am a young fellow deer," said the fawn, looking at the rabbit out of his beautiful big eyes. "I was born this summer. I live in the woods with my mother and have a fine hiding place there among the hidden bracken." "Bracken is good for hiding in," said the rabbit. "Where are your antlers, little fawn?" "I thought deer had antlers on their head." "I have none yet," said the fawn, "but next year they will begin to grow. They will look like two horns at first, but in the second year they will grow more like antlers, and every year they will grow bigger and bigger, until I am fully grown and have great antlers like those of my father's head." "Surely those big antlers are a nuisance to you," said the rabbit, in surprise. "Don't they catch the tree branches as you run?" "No," said the fawn. "We throw our heads backwards as we run, and the antlers lie along our sides and do not catch anything. Also, they protect our bodies from any scratches or bruises we might get as we run through the trees and bushes. My mother has no antlers, but I shall grow some too." As the day passed.
I've been asked if you could do the pageant or something.
Yeah, that's fine.
I've not been able to get Jenny's out,
Oh, okay.
so I'll just leave it.
Oh, okay, I'm just reading my bedtime story.
Alright.
As the day passed. Oh God, are we upside down? But asked the rabbit. Do you have them all year round?" asked the rabbit. "Oh no," said the fawn. "They drop off in the springtime, and they grow again in a few weeks on my head. I have two little bumps and it is from these I shall grow my antlers each year. My father has wonderful antlers, very large and spreading, and they show what a great age he is. He will drop his antlers next springtime, and they will have to grow again from the knobs on his forehead. That is what my mother told me." "How strange," said the rabbit, looking at the little dappled fawn as he lay under the bridge. "What do you eat, little creature?" "Oh, I eat grass and toadstools and shoots of young trees," said the fawn, beginning to feel hungry. "And often we eat the barks of trees. I should like something to eat now. There are some turnips in the fields on the other side of the hedge," said the rabbit. "Would you like some?" The fawn did not know what turnips were, but he jumped to his feet and followed the rabbit, squeezing himself through the hedge. The storm was over now, but the rain fell gently. The thunder was muttering up far away over the hills, but there was no longer any lightning. Blue sky began to appear between the ragged clouds, and once the sun peeped through, all the hedgerow was hung with twinkling raindrops. The oak trees shone brightly, for every one of its leaves had all been washed by the rain. The fawn slipped into the turnip field and began to nibble at the young turnips. They were delicious. When they had eaten enough, he went back to the hedgerow. The rabbit followed him and told him that he should go back to the woods, for his mother would be anxious about him. But at that very moment the blackbird in the tree above sent out a long cry. "Cuckoo! Cuckoo! Beware! Here comes a strange enemy!" Every animal scuttled back to its hole, and all the birds flew to the topmost branch. The little fawn stood up and smelled the air. Suddenly he made a strange welcoming sound and rushed up to the newcomer. It was his mother, a big well-grown deer, with soft eyes and small neat feet with cloven hoofs. They nuzzled her fawn in delight. She had missed him for his hiding place and had come to seek him. "Come," she said to him, "you should not have run away, little fawn. Enemies may have seen you and captured you. You are safe under the bracken in the woods." But a loud and flashing enemy came, said the fawn, rubbing himself against his mother lovingly. "I was afraid." "That was only a stone," said his mother. "There are good turnips in the field over there," said the little fawn. "I have eaten some." "We will stay under the hedge until the dark comes," said the deer. "Then we will feast on the turnips before we return to the woods. Let us find a dry place under the thick ivy with the big dry patch, for the ivy leaves make a dense shelter there." The deer lay there with her fawn beside her, and they waited until the evening came. They lay so quiet that none of the hedgerow folk feared them, and little mice, the hedgehog and the toad, went about their business just as usual. After they had fed on the sweet turnip, the little fawn called goodbye to the old rabbit, who had been so kind, and then in the soft blue evening time the two trotted back to the woodlands. "Come again," called the rabbit, who liked the gentle deer. "Come again and share our turnips." The end. I hope you like that story. Good night, beautiful.